Adonai, uh, he appointed this mighty and holy day for the Jewish people. It is their New Year celebration, and it was appointed by Adonai himself, not just for the Jewish people, but those who are grafted in as well unto the family of Yeshua of Nazareth, which he never did away with the holy days either. And we will be reading out of Genesis chapter 21 verses 1 through 24. Miftar is Numbers chapter 29 verses 1 through 6. Haftorah is 1 Samuel chapter 1 verses 1 through chapter 2 verse 10. Revelation chapter 21 verses 1 through chapter 2 verse 5. It seems long, but it's not. And then we'll go to the commentary from First Fruits of Zion. Okay, Adonai remembered Sarah, chapter 21, out of Genesis. Adonai remembered Sarah as he had said, and Adonai did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the very time God had said to him. Abraham called the son born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Yishak. Abraham circumcised his son Yishak when he was 8 days old, as God had ordered him to do. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Yishak, laughter, was born to him. Sarah said, God has given me good reason to laugh. Now everyone who hears about it will laugh with me. And she said, who would have said, Abraham, that Sarah would nurse children? Nevertheless, I had borne him a son in his old age. The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham gave a great banquet on the day that Yishak was weaned. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom Hagar that born to Abraham, making fun of Yishak. So Sarah said to Abraham, throw this slave girl out and her son. I will not have this slave girl's son as your heir along with my son Yishak. Abraham became very distressed over this matter of his son. But God said to Abraham, don't be distressed because of the boy and your slave girl. Listen to everything Sarah says to you, because it is your descendants through Yishak who will be counted. But I will also make a nation from the son of the slave girl, since he is descended from you. Abraham got up early in the morning, took bread and a skin of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child. Then he sent her away. After leaving, she wandered in the desert around Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she left the child under a bush and went and sat down, looking the other way, about a bow shot's distance from him, because she said, I can't bear to watch my child die. So she sat there, looking the other way, crying out and weeping. God heard the boy's voice, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what's wrong with you, Hagar? Don't be afraid, because God has heard the voice of the boy in his present situation. Get up, lift the boy up, and hold him tightly in your hand, because I am going to make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went, filled the skin with water, and gave the boy water to drink. God was with the boy, and he grew. He lived in the desert and became an archer. He lived in the Paran desert, and his mother chose a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Now we're going to the Miftar, Numbers, chapter 29, verses 1 through 6. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you are to have a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. It is a day of blowing the shofar for you. Prepare a burnt offering to make a fragrant aroma for Adonai. 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs in their first year, and without defect, with their grain offering, consisting of fine flour mixed with olive oil, 6 quarts for the bull, 4 quarts for the ram, and 2 quarts for each of the 7 lambs. Also 1 male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. This is to be in addition to the burnt offering for Rosh with its grain offering, the regular burnt offering with its grain offering, and their drink offerings, according to the rule for them. This will be a fragrant aroma, an offering made by fire to Adonai. Now we will go to the Haftorah, which is in 1 Samuel, chapter 1, chapter 1 through chapter 2, verse 10. There was a man from Ramatayim, Sophim, in the hills of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, the son of Yeracham, the son of Eliahu, the son of Taku, the son of Zuf, from Ephrat. He had two wives, one named Hannah and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. This man went up from his city every year to worship and sacrifice to Adonai Zebawat in Shiloh. The two sons of Eli, Hophni and Pinchas, were Kohanim of Adonai there. One day when Elkanah was sacrificing, he gave a portion of the sacrifice to his wife Peninnah, and portions to each of her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved Hannah, even though Adonai had kept her from having children. Her rival taunted her and made her feel bad because Adonai had kept her from having children. He did the same every year, and each time she went up to the house of Adonai, she taunted her so much that she would cry and not eat. Her husband Elkanah said to her, "Hannah, why are you crying, and why aren't you eating? Why be so sad? Am I not better to you than 10 sons?" So Hannah got up after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Eli, the Kohen, was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the temple of Adonai. In deep depression, she prayed to Adonai and cried. Then she took a vow. She said, "Adonai Zebawat, if you will notice how humiliated your servant is, if you will remember me and not forget your servant, but will give your servant a male child, then I will give him to Adonai for as long as he lives, and no razor will ever come on his head." She prayed for a long time before Adonai, and as she did so, Eli was watching her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart. Her lips moved, but her voice could not be heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. Eli said to her, "How long are you going to stay drunk? Stop drinking your wine." But Hannah answered, "No, my Lord, I am a very unhappy woman. I have not drunk either wine or other strong liquor, but rather I've been pouring out my soul before Adonai. Don't think of your servant as a worthless woman, because I have been speaking from the depths of my distress and anger." Then Eli replied, "Go in peace. May the God of Israel grant what you have asked of him." She replied, "May your servant find favor in your sight." So the woman went on her way, and she ate, and her face was no longer sad. They got up early in the morning and worshipped before Adonai, then returned and came to their house in Ramah. Elkanah had sexual relations with Hannah, his wife, and Adonai remembered her. She conceived, and in due time she gave birth to a son, whom she named Samuel, because I asked Adonai for him. The husband Elkanah went up with all his household to offer the yearly sacrifice to Adonai and fulfilled his vow. But Hannah did not go up, explaining to her husband, "Not till the child has been weaned, then I will bring him, so that he can appear before Adonai and live there forever." Her husband Elkanah answered her, "Do what seems good to you. Stay here until you have weaned him. Only may Adonai bring about what he said." So the woman stayed behind and nursed the child until she weaned him. After weaning him, she took him up with her, along with 3 young bulls, a bushel of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of Adonai in Shiloh, even though he was just a child. After the bull had been slaughtered, the child was brought to Eli, and she said, "My Lord, as surely as you live, my Lord, I am the woman who stood here near you praying to Adonai. I prayed for this child, and Adonai has granted the request I asked for him. Therefore I too have loaned him to Adonai. As long as he lives, he is on loan to Adonai." And he prostrated himself there before Adonai. Chapter 2. Then Hannah prayed. She said, "My heart exalts in Adonai. My dignity has been restored by Adonai. I can gloat over my enemies because of my joy at your saving me. No one is as holy as Adonai, because there is none to compare with you. No rock like our God. Stop your proud boasting. Don't let arrogance come from your mouth. For Adonai is a God of knowledge, and he appraises actions. The bows of the mighty are broken, while the feeble are armed with strength. The well-fed hire themselves for bread, while those who were hungry hunger no more. The barren woman has borne 7, while the mother of many wastes away. Adonai kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave, and he brings up. Adonai makes poor, and he makes rich. He humbles, and he exalts. He raises the poor from the dust, lifts up the needy from the trash pile. He gives them a place with leaders, and assigns them seats of honor. For the earth's pillars belong to Adonai. On them he has placed the world. He will guard the steps of his faithful, but the wicked will be silenced in darkness. For it is not by strength that a person prevails. Those who fight Adonai will be shattered. He will thunder against them in heaven. Adonai will judge the ends of the earth. He will strengthen his king and enhance the power of his anointed. Now we go to Revelation chapter 21, verse 1 to chapter 22, verse 5. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had passed away, and the sea was no longer there. Also I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride, beautifully dressed of her husband. I heard a loud voice from the throne say, "See, God, the Shekinah with mankind and he will live with them." Shekinah means his presence. They will be his people, and he himself, God with them, will be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will no longer be any death, and there will no longer be any mourning, crying, or pain, because the old order has passed away. Then the one sitting on the throne said, "Look, I am making everything new." Also he said, "Write, these words are true and trustworthy." And he said to me, "It is done. I am the A and the Z, the beginning and the end. To anyone who is thirsty, I myself will give water free of charge from the fountain of life. He who wins the victory will receive these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But as for the cowardly, the untrustworthy, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those involved with the occult and with drugs, idol worshippers, and all liars, their destiny is the lake burning with fire and sulfur, the second death." One of the 7 angels, having the 7 bows full of the 7 last plagues, approached me and said, "Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." He carried me off in the spirit to the top of the great high mountain and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. It had the Shekinah of God, so that its brilliance was like that of a priceless jewel, like a crystal clear diamond. It had a great high wall with 12 gates. At the gates were 12 angels, and inscribed on the gates were the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. There were 3 gates to the east, 3 gates to the north, 3 gates to the south, and 3 gates to the west. The wall of the city was built on 12 foundation stones, and on these were the 12 names of the 12 emissaries of the Lamb. The angel speaking with me had a gold measuring rod with which to measure the city, its gates and its wall. The city is laid out in a square, its length equal to its width. With his rod he measured the city at 1,500 miles, with length, width, and height the same. He measured its wall at 216 feet by human standards of measurement, which the angel was using. The wall was made of diamond, and the city of pure gold, resembling pure glass. The foundations of the city were decorated with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation stone was diamond, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth carnelian, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th turquoise, and the 12th amethyst. The 12 gates were transparent as glass. I saw no temple in the city, for Adonai, God of heaven's armies, is his temple, as is the Lamb. The city has no need for the sun or the moon to shine on it, because God's Shekinah gives it light, and its lamp is the Lamb. The nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into it. Its gates will never close. They stay open all day, because night will not exist there, and the honor and splendor of the nations will be brought into it. Nothing impure may enter it, nor anyone who does shameful things or lies. The only ones who may enter are those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. Chapter 22. Next, the angel showed me the river of the water of life, sparkling like crystal, flowing from the throne of God and the Lamb. Between the main street and the river was the tree of life, producing 12 kinds of fruit, a different kind of every month.